He offered his leftovers to the strays, but what he found were 3 desperate alien girls. Night was quiet on the edge of the spaceport city. The human man walked slowly down the narrow alley, carrying a small paper bag in his hand. His name was Daniel, a worker who lived a simple and lonely life. Every night after finishing his job at the cargo docks, he had the same habit. He saved a little part of his meal and brought it here to the back alleys where stray animals searched for. Scraps for him, it was nothing special, just a kind gesture, a way to give a little comfort to the hungry cats and dogs. It made him feel human in a place where machines and aliens ruled most of the streets. He bent down, opened the bag, and placed the food carefully on the ground. Steam rose from the small meal, and he stepped back, expecting soft paws and wagging tails. The alley was dark, lit only by a flickering neon light above. For a moment, silence stretched, broken only by the distant hum of ships taking off from the port. Then he felt that eyes watching him, not the playful eyes of an animal, but sharp, glowing eyes in the shadows. He froze. His breath caught. Something moved, a faint rustle, a whisper of soft feet against stone. Daniel turned slowly, and there they were, 3 figures stepping out from the darkness. Not dogs, not cats, not anything human, but alien girls with features both strange and beautiful. Their skin glowed faintly under the light, pale and fragile. Their eyes were large, filled with hunger and fear. Their clothes were torn, their movements weak. It looked like they had been running for days, surviving on nothing. Daniel's heart pounded. He had seen many aliens before at the port, but never like this. These 3 were young, perhaps no older than late teens by human measure, but their faces told stories of pain and exhaustion far beyond their age. The tallest one stepped forward, her voice soft but trembling. It was not in words he could understand, but her tone was clear as silent plea. Her hand moved toward the food, then stopped halfway. She looked at him with eyes full of hesitation, like a creature waiting for permission. Daniel swallowed hard. This was not what he expected. A part of him wanted to walk away. This was not his problem, but another part, the part that brought him here every night, could not ignore them. He nodded slowly, pushing the food closer with his foot. The girls did not wait any longer. They dropped to the ground, sharing the small meal like it was a treasure. Their thin fingers trembled as they grabbed each piece, their eyes closing as if tasting food for the first time in weeks. Daniel stood still, watching. He should have felt safe now, but he didn't. The way they ate, the way they glanced over their shoulders every few seconds, it was not just hunger. It was fear. Fear of being hunted, fear of being seen. The youngest one suddenly looked up at him, her cheeks puffed with food. Her eyes were bright, almost glowing like stars. She whispered something in her alien tongue. Daniel could not understand, but the gratitude was clear. For a moment, warmth spread in his chest, but that warmth quickly turned cold when he noticed something strange. The oldest girl, the one who had first stepped forward, had something hidden. Under her torn clothing, a metallic glimmer, a small device strapped to her side. Not a weapon, but not harmless either. Daniel's instincts screamed that this was more than just a meeting with starving strangers. The girls finished the food quickly. Every crumb gone, they looked stronger already, though still tired. The oldest one met his eyes again, this time with something more serious in her gaze. She lifted her hand slowly, not toward him, but toward the alley behind him. Daniel turned, and for the first time, he noticed it too. Shadows moving, footsteps echoing. Someone or something was coming closer. The air grew colder. Daniel's heart raced. This was not just about kindness anymore. This was the beginning of something far bigger, something dangerous. And without knowing how, Daniel realized he was now part of it. One small act of kindness had pulled him into a story that would change everything. The girls pressed closer together, their glowing eyes fixed on him, and in that moment, He understood one thing clearly. They were not safe, and now neither was he. Daniel's breath turned shallow as the sound of footsteps grew louder. They echoed through the alley like a drumbeat, slow but steady. The three alien girls froze, their glowing eyes darting toward the darkness beyond. It was not just fear in their gaze, it was recognition. Whoever was coming, they knew them, and they did not want to be found. The oldest girl stepped forward again, her hands trembling but firm. She looked at Daniel, then pressed her palms together in a gesture. It was not human language, but it was. Clear a plea for help, a plea so desperate that it cut straight into his chest. Daniel hesitated. He was just a man, a simple worker, not a soldier, not a hero. What could he possibly do? But the footsteps were closer now. A low, metallic hum followed. Not boots on stone, but something heavier. Machines, perhaps patrolling drones. The youngest girl whimpered, clinging to her sister's arm. The middle one, her hair tangled and her face pale, pulled a piece of cloth around her shoulders, trying to hide her features. Their fear was contagious, crawling under Daniel's skin until his own hands shook. "Quiet," he whispered, though he knew they could barely understand him. Still, they seemed to get the meaning, huddling close together, eyes wide. Then the shadows split. Two drones floated into the alley, their red lights scanning the walls behind them. Two tall figures appeared, alien enforcers, armored and armed. Their skin was a deep shade of blue, their helmets covering sharp features. They carried weapons that glowed faintly. Humming with deadly energy, Daniel's heart pounded. He had seen these enforcers before at the port. They were not known for mercy. They were hunters, trackers, servants of someone powerful. And now they were here for the girls. The oldest alien girl pressed her hand against Daniel's chest, her eyes burning with silent urgency. She mouthed words he could not understand, but her meaning was clear. "Don't give us away." The drones scanned the ground, and Daniel realized with horror that the bag of food was still there. If they saw it, they would know someone had been feeding the girls. They would know he was involved. His body moved before his mind decided. Daniel stepped forward, placing himself between the enforcers and the girls. He forced his voice to stay calm, steady. "Evening," he said, his tone casual. "Just me here. Feeding strays." The enforcers paused, their glowing eyes narrowing behind their helmets. One of them tilted his head, scanning Daniel with a beam of light. The red laser swept over his body, analyzing every detail. The drone buzzed as if calculating. For a terrible moment, Daniel thought they would see right through him. But then the enforcer grunted, his voice metallic and cold. "No strays left here. Only vermin." "Leave," Daniel forced a weak smile, pretending to be relaxed. He kicked the empty bag of food aside, hiding the crumbs with his boot. "Guess I wasted my time then," he muttered. The enforcers lingered for a long, painful moment, then turned away, their drones following them back into the shadows. The alley grew quiet again. Daniel's knees nearly gave out. Sweat dripping down his back, he turned toward the three girls, who stared at him in shock. Their chests rose and fell quickly, eyes glimmering with something new. Not just fear, but trust. The middle girl whispered something, her voice soft. Like wind, her hand touched her chest, then pointed to him. It was not a word he knew, but he understood. It was thanks. Thanks for protecting them. Daniel sat on the ground, his heart still racing. What have I gotten myself into? He muttered. The girls exchanged looks, and the oldest one crouched beside him. She pulled the small metallic device from her side. It flickered with blue lights, symbols Daniel couldn't read. She placed it in front of him, her expression serious. And then, slowly, she spoke a single word in broken English. "Danger." Daniel's eyes widened, so they did know some of his language. Not much, but enough. And if they could say danger, then whatever chased them was far worse than a patrol. A youngest girl tugged his sleeve, pointing toward the open sky. Above the alley, her small voice echoed softly, trembling with both fear and hope. "Help." "U.S.," she said. Daniel stared at them, his mind racing. 3 alien girls, hunted by powerful enforcers, hiding in a forgotten alley, and now they were asking him for protection. A man who barely had enough money to take care of himself. It made no sense, yet something deep inside told him there was no turning back. His simple gesture of kindness had become something bigger, a chain that was already pulling him into their fate. The sound of engines roared in the distance. The enforcers were not gone for long. Daniel clenched his fists. He didn't know how. But one thing was clear. If he walked away now, the girls would not survive the night. And for reasons he couldn't explain, he couldn't let that happen. Daniel sat frozen on the cold ground, his mind spinning. The word help echoed in his ears, not as a request, but as a command his heart could not ignore. The 3 alien girls looked at him with wide, desperate eyes. They were no longer strangers in the dark. They were fragile lives depending on him. The hum of engines grew closer again, rattling the thin metal walls of the alley. The enforcers hadn't gone far. They were circling back. Daniel's instincts screamed at him, "Move, now." He pulled himself up and motioned for the girls to follow. "Come on," he whispered, though he wasn't sure they understood. The oldest nodded quickly, tugging her sisters along. Her movements were sharp and careful. She had the aura of someone used to protecting others. Daniel led them deeper into the back streets, twisting through narrow passages where the light barely reached. The city was alive above them. Voices, laughter, machines whirring, but here, in the underbelly, it was silent. Only their hurried footsteps and the faint beeping of the girl's small device broke the stillness. "What is that?" Daniel whispered, pointing to the flickering object she clutched. The girl pressed it to her chest protectively, then shook her head. "Tracker," she said in broken English. Her eyes filled with worry. Daniel's stomach dropped. So the enforcers weren't just searching randomly. They had a way to find the girls, no matter where they hid. The middle girl stumbled, her legs weak. Daniel caught her before she hit the ground. She was burning hot, her skin clammy. She wasn't just hungry, she was sick. The youngest clung to Daniel's arm, her tiny fingers trembling. Her silent plea was louder than words. "Don't leave her behind." Daniel's throat tightened. He had no plan, no weapons, no power, but leaving them was impossible. If the enforcers found them, they'd be dragged away or worse. A faint red glow lit the walls ahead. Daniel froze, pressing the girls against the shadows. 2 drones floated by, scanning the alley with their deadly beams. Their lenses glowed like eyes searching for prey. Daniel held his breath, his arm wrapped tightly around the youngest girl to keep her still. The drone's red light passed over them, lingering for a heartbeat that felt like eternity. Then it moved on, the hum fading into the distance. The girls exhaled shakily, their relief palpable. But Daniel knew they couldn't keep running like this. The tracker would betray them eventually. He needed somewhere to hide them, somewhere the enforcers wouldn't dare search. An idea formed in his mind, risky but better than waiting to be. Caught, the maintenance tunnels, few people used them. He had keys, left over from his cleaning job at the docking bays. It wasn't safe, but it was hidden. He motioned for the girls to follow and turned down another alley. The path grew narrower, darker. Trash crunched under their feet. The youngest girl sneezed softly, and Daniel winced. Every sound felt like a signal flare to their hunters. Finally, they reached a rusted metal hatch bolted into the ground. Daniel knelt and fumbled with his old keycard. The scanner blinked weakly outdated, but still functional. With a groan, the hatch slid open, releasing a stale gust of air from below. He gestured to the girls. "In," he whispered, the oldest. Girl hesitated, scanning the tunnel with cautious eyes. But the sound of engines roared again in the distance closer this time. Without another word, she helped her sisters climb down. Daniel followed, pulling the hatch shut above them, plunging them into near darkness. The air was thick with dust, the walls damp with condensation. Pipes lined the passage like veins in a dying body. The sound of dripping water echoed through the shadows. The youngest girl coughed, her small voice almost lost in the endless dark. Daniel dug through his pockets and pulled out a small flashlight. Its weak beam cut through the gloom. The girls flinched at the sudden light, but quickly adjusted. Their faces looked even more fragile here, pale and tired. The middle one leaned heavily against the wall, her breathing ragged. Daniel's chest ached. He wished he could give them more food, medicine, or even comfort, but all he had was himself. And right now, that had to be enough. They moved deeper into the tunnel, their footsteps echoing softly. Behind them, faint thuds reverberated through the ground. The enforcers were searching. It was only a matter of time before they realized where the girls had gone. At last, they reached an abandoned maintenance room, its door half broken. Daniel pushed it open. The creak loud in the silence. Inside were dusty crates, old tools, and a broken console. It wasn't much, but it was shelter. The oldest girl guided her sick sister inside and laid her gently on the floor. Her eyes glistened with unspoken worry. Daniel crouched beside them, shining the light on her face. He didn't need to be a doctor to see she was in bad shape. "She needs help," Daniel whispered, more to himself than to them. The oldest girl met his gaze, her eyes wet with tears. She pointed to the broken console, and then to her device. Her meaning was clear. She wanted to connect them. Daniel frowned. If the tracker connected to the console, maybe it would send a signal. Maybe someone worse, would find them. But maybe, just maybe, it could also be used to call for help. The decision weighed heavy in his chest. Risk exposure, or let the girl's life slip away. The silence stretched until the youngest girl crawled closer. She touched Daniel's hand with her small, trembling fingers, her eyes shimmering with faint light. Whispered a message her mouth could not. "Please save her." Daniel clenched his jaw, his pulse racing. He had crossed a line already, and there was no going back. With shaking hands, he reached for the device, and in that moment, the broken console flickered to life. Symbols glowed across its surface, filling the room with alien light. The sick girl stirred, whispering something. In her own tongue, her voice weak but full of hope. But outside the tunnel, a metallic voice echoed, cold and sharp. Target confirmed. Closing in, Daniel froze. The enforcers had found them. The console's glow painted the small room in strange colors. Symbols flickered and shifted across its cracked surface. The sick girl stirred weakly, her lips whispering words Daniel could not understand. For a moment, hope flickered inside him. Maybe this alien device could save her. But then came the sound, heavy metallic thuds echoing down the tunnel, the kind of footsteps that didn't belong to men. The enforcers were near, and they were no longer searching blindly. They were hunting. Daniel's heart slammed against his ribs. The oldest girl looked at him, panic shining in her strange eyes. She clutched the youngest to her chest, as if she already knew what was coming. "Go," she mouthed silently. But where? The console beeped, louder now. Its strange light pulsed like a heartbeat. The sick girl opened her glowing eyes for a second, and through her weak breath came one clear word. "Run." The sound of grinding metal tore through the tunnel as the hatch above burst open. A red searchlight cut through the darkness, scanning the walls like a predator's gaze. Daniel snatched up the sick girl, his arms shaking under her weight. "Move," he hissed, his voice trembling but firm. The girls obeyed, fear propelling them forward. The tunnel stretched endlessly, pipes hissing, water dripping, shadows twisting. Behind them, the metallic voice of the enforcers thundered. Target confirmed. Do not resist. Then came the sound Daniel dreaded: drones. Their high-pitched hum filled the tunnels as red beams sliced through the dark. The chase had begun. Daniel's legs burned as he carried the girl, her feverish skin hot against his arm. The oldest girl ran beside him, clutching the youngest tight. Her breath came in sharp gasps, but her eyes were locked ahead, focused, determined. The middle tunnel split into 3 directions. Daniel's mind spun left, right, straight. He had no time. A red beam shot past, sizzling against the wall. The stone cracked and sparked. Daniel ducked low, pulling the girls into the left passage. The drones shrieked and followed, their mechanical claws scraping the walls. The tunnel narrowed, forcing Daniel to bend low. Pipes hissed above, leaking bursts of steam. The heat burned his arm, but he didn't stop. A sick girl moaned softly, and Daniel whispered, "Hold on. Just hold on." Suddenly, the tunnel dropped into a steep slope. Daniel's foot slipped. He stumbled, almost falling. The girls screamed softly as they all tumbled down the slick passage. The fall ended in a crash of metal as they landed in a lower chamber. Pain shot through Daniel's body, but he forced himself up. The sick girl was still breathing, weak but alive. The chamber was different, larger, filled with strange machines long abandoned. Alien markings glowed faintly on the walls. This place wasn't human-made. It was old, ancient, hidden beneath the city for who knows how long. The oldest girl gasped. As her eyes darted to the symbols, her lips moved quickly in her own language. She seemed to recognize this place. But before Daniel could ask, the drones dropped into the chamber with a metallic shriek. Their red beams cut across the room. There was no way out. Daniel's eyes darted around desperately. His gaze landed on a broken panel, wires sparking faintly. Without thinking, he set the sick girl down gently and ripped at the wires. The sparks grew, crackling angrily. "Cover your eyes," he shouted. The moment the drone swooped in, Daniel slammed the wires together. A burst of blinding light filled the chamber. The drones screeched, their sensors fried, spinning wildly before crashing into the walls. Metal tore apart in a rain of sparks. The girls covered their faces, trembling but unharmed. The silence that followed was suffocating. Only the drip of water and the ragged sound of breathing remained. Daniel dropped the burnt wires, his hands shaking and blistered. But they were alive for now. The oldest girl's eyes shone in the faint alien light. She pressed her hand to her chest and spoke softly, "Safe." "Thank you." Her voice cracked with relief. But Daniel shook his head. They weren't safe, not really. The enforcers weren't just machines. There would be more, always more. And then came the sound again. Not footsteps this time, but something heavier, deeper, a metallic roar that vibrated through the walls. The girls stiffened in terror, their faces pale. The youngest whispered one word Daniel could barely catch: "Hunter." The tunnel trembled as if something massive was crawling closer. The air grew thick, each breath harder to take. Daniel's heart sank. He realized the drones were nothing compared to what was coming. He turned toward the girls, his voice firm. Despite the fear clawing at his chest, "We keep moving," he said. He lifted the sick girl back into his arms, her glowing eyes half open. The oldest nodded, determination hardening her face. The youngest clung to Daniel's shirt, trembling. But silent, together, they slipped into another dark passage. The ancient chamber fading behind them, the metallic roar followed, louder with every step. The true chase had only just begun. The tunnel was darker now. Every sound echoed louder than it should. Every drop of water felt like a drumbeat, and every shadow seemed alive. Daniel's arms ached from carrying the sick girl, but he refused to put her down. Her skin burned with fever, yet her faint glow still lit the way. It was like carrying a small star in his arms. The other 2 girls stayed close, their steps quick and silent. They moved like children who had lived too long with fear. Behind them, the metallic roar came again, low, deep, heavy. It wasn't just sound, it was weight. It pressed against the walls, shaking the ground. The hunter was following. Daniel's mind raced. The drones had been bad enough cold machines with one purpose. But this thing, it sounded alive, and yet it wasn't. The youngest girl whispered the name again in her soft voice. Hunter. Her eyes filled with tears she tried to hide. Daniel slowed for a moment. He had to ask, "What is it?" The oldest girl glanced back, fear flashing across her face. She struggled with words in English. Finally, she managed. Hunter. Not machine, not man built to kill. Only kill. The walls trembled again. Dust rained down from the ceiling. Daniel clenched his jaw and pushed forward. He didn't want to know more. He just wanted to find a way out. The tunnel widened into another chamber, this one filled with broken machinery and tall pillars of stone. Alien carvings glowed faintly along the walls. The place felt sacred and forgotten, but there was no time to admire it. The roar thundered again, closer now. Suddenly, a loud crash split the chamber. A massive claw tore through the wall like it was paper. Sparks flew as metal and stone crumbled. The girl screamed. Daniel froze for a second, his chest tight. Then the claw pulled back, and out of the broken wall stepped the hunter. It was taller than any man, its body a twisted mix of alien flesh and metal. 4 glowing eyes burned red on its face. Its chest moved like something alive inside it was breathing. Its claws were sharp, dripping with black fluid that hissed as it hit the ground. It growled a deep, rumbling sound that shook Daniel's bones. The hunter's eyes locked on them. And then it moved. Fast, too fast for its size. Daniel barely had time to dive behind one of the stone pillars. The hunter's claw slammed down where he had been. The ground cracked open, sending shards flying. The oldest girl pulled the youngest behind another pillar. Daniel held the sick girl tighter, shielding her with his own body. He whispered to her, though she was half conscious. "Don't give up. Stay with me," the hunter roared, scanning the chamber with its glowing eyes. It sniffed the air like a beast. It was hunting them, not blindly, but carefully, like it enjoyed the fear. Daniel's mind raced. He couldn't fight this thing. Even the drones had nearly killed them. But he couldn't just run. This chamber only had 2 exits, one blocked by rubble, the other already too close to the monster. The sick girl stirred. Her glowing eyes fluttered open. She raised a trembling hand toward the alien carvings on the wall. The symbols began to glow brighter. Daniel's breath caught. "What are you doing?" He whispered, but she didn't answer. The carvings pulsed with light. A hum filled the chamber. The hunter paused, tilting its head. For the first time, it hesitated. The glow spread from the carvings into the floor. Lines of light raced beneath Daniel's feet, connecting the whole chamber like veins. The hunter roared and lunged forward, but before its claw could strike, the floor split open. A hidden path revealed itself, stairs leading down into deeper darkness. The sick girl collapsed. Again, her glow fading. Daniel didn't hesitate. He scooped her up and shouted, "Go, now!" The oldest girl pulled the youngest and ran toward the stairs. Daniel followed, his legs burning. Behind them, the hunter screamed in fury. Its claw tore at the ground, sparks flying, but the ancient light repelled it like an invisible barrier, held it back, for now, but not forever. As they descended the hidden stairs, the light dimmed again. The air grew colder. The sound of the hunter's roars faded into the distance. But Daniel knew it wasn't gone. It would come again. It would never stop. They reached another chamber, smaller and quieter. The walls glowed faintly, like stars in the dark. Strange shapes were carved everywhere, maps, symbols, words Daniel couldn't read. The oldest girl touched one of the carvings. Her lips moved in awe. This place. Older than Hunter, she whispered. Her eyes turned to Daniel, shining with something new hope. Daniel only felt the weight of the sick girl in his arms. Her glow was faint, her breathing shallow. He sank to his knees. She's slipping, he muttered. The youngest girl knelt beside him, her small hand touching his. She looked at him with pleading eyes. Save her, she whispered. Her voice cracked with desperation. Daniel stared at the sick girl's fragile face, her skin pale, her breath weak. He had already risked everything for her. And now, somehow, he knew the truth. If she died, their fight would end, and so would any hope they had. Above them, the roar came again. Muffled but furious, the hunter was breaking through the barrier. It was only a matter of time. Daniel clenched his fists. He looked at the glowing carvings, then at the girl in his arms, and he made his choice. He would not let her die, no matter the cost. The real fight was only beginning. The chamber below was silent. The air was heavy, thick with ancient dust. The faint glowing carvings on the walls seemed alive. Like stars frozen in stone, Daniel laid the sick girl gently on the cold floor. Her glow was fading. Her chest rose and fell with shallow, painful breaths. The oldest alien girl knelt beside her, pressing her ear to the weak heartbeat. Her face turned pale, her lips trembling. No time, she whispered. The youngest girl's eyes filled with tears. Her small hands clutched at Daniel's sleeve. Save her, human. Please. Daniel's jaw clenched. He had fought soldiers, drones, even war itself, but he had never felt so powerless. She needs medicine. She needs help I can't give, he muttered. His voice cracked with frustration. The oldest girl looked up at him, her glowing eyes steady. No, not medicine. She is different, her words sent a shiver through him. What do you mean? He asked. The girl hesitated, then placed her hand on one of the glowing carvings. The wall shifted under her touch. Symbols lit up brighter, filling the room with light. And then the truth revealed itself. The chamber's walls shimmered like a veil being lifted. Behind the stone, machines pulsed with quiet energy. Strange alien devices hummed. The carvings weren't just decoration. They were instructions, a story left by something ancient. The oldest girl pointed at the sick one, her voice soft but firm. She carries the core. Daniel's brows furrowed. The core? What the hell is that? The girl's glowing eyes fixed on his. Life? Power? Future? Daniel's breath caught. He looked down at the fragile figure on the ground, her faint glow, her strange connection to the walls. She wasn't just sick. She was something more, something the hunter wanted. A thunderous roar shook the chamber. Stone cracked above them, dust falling like rain. The hunter was tearing through the barrier, its claws scraping against the ancient walls. The youngest girl covered her ears, sobbing. It comes. It comes. Daniel stood, fists clenched. His soldier's instinct roared back to life. If the hunter wanted the girl, then she wasn't just important, she was vital. And if she died, everything they had endured would mean nothing. He turned to the oldest girl. You said she has the core. How do I save her? The girl pressed her glowing hand to a set of carvings. The symbols rearranged, forming a circle of light on the floor. She must connect to the chamber, she whispered. Her body too weak. But chamber will heal. If you help, Daniels. Heart pounded. Help? How? The girl's eyes softened. You must give part of yourself. Your strength. Your life. The floor rumbled again. A deafening crash split the chamber as the hunter's claws broke through stone. Its glowing eyes glared from the cracks. It was almost inside. Time was gone. Daniel looked at the sick girl, her fragile face, pale, her breath fading, and he didn't hesitate. He lifted her carefully into the circle of light. Her small body seemed weightless in his arms. He laid her down gently. Her faint glow flickered like a last flame of a candle. The oldest girl pressed her hands over Daniel's, guiding him. "Put your hand on her heart," she whispered. "Share." "Your fire." Daniel placed his trembling hand over her chest. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a burning heat rushed through him. His breath caught as energy drained from his body. It felt like his very life was being pulled away. His veins burned with fire, but he didn't pull back. He pressed harder. "Come on," he whispered. "Don't die on me." Light surged through the chamber. The carvings flared with brilliance. The sick girl gasped, her chest rising sharply. Her glow expanded, brighter and brighter. The chamber shook, not with destruction, but with power awakening. The hunter roared, slamming through the wall at last. Its massive body crashed into the chamber, claws ready to kill, but it froze. The girl's glow was blinding now. Her eyes snapped open, blazing like twin suns. She floated slightly above the ground, her weak, fragile form replaced with something radiant and terrible. The hunter staggered back. Its claws twitched, its roar faltered. For the first time, Daniel saw fear in its glowing eyes. The youngest girl clutched Daniel's arm, her voice trembling with awe. "She awakens." The hunter screamed in rage. It lunged forward, but a wave of pure light exploded from the girl's body. The force slammed into the monster, hurling it against the far wall. Stone shattered, dust filled the air. The hunter shrieked in fury and pain. Its metal flesh burned from the radiant energy. Daniel fell to one knee, drained and shaking. But he couldn't look away. The girl he had carried, the one he thought was dying, now stood glowing like a living star. Her voice echoed through the chamber, soft but filled with power. "No more," she said. Her gaze locked on the hunter, and for the first time it looked like the monster might not win. But Daniel knew this wasn't the end. This was only the beginning of something far bigger than he could imagine. The chamber shook like thunder. Cracks spread through the walls, stones falling like rain. The hunter pulled itself from the rubble, its roar echoing like metal, grinding on metal. Its body burned with scars from the alien girl's radiant blast, but it was not dead. Its glowing eyes locked on her. Full of rage, it would not stop. Not until it claimed what it came for. The three alien girls stood together now. The youngest clung to Daniel's arm, terrified but refusing to run. The oldest kept her glowing hands ready, whispering words Daniel didn't understand. And the girl, who had been sick, now stood radiant. Her glow filled the chamber like a second sun. Her fragile body had become something powerful, something ancient, but her voice still trembled when she looked at Daniel. "You gave me life. Now I must give it back." Daniel's chest tightened. He had already felt part of himself slip away into her. His hands still burned with the memory of it. He knew if she gave more, she might not survive. "No," he said, his voice low but firm. "You're not dying again, not after this." The hunter roared and lunged forward. Its claws scraped the stone floor as it charged. The ground shook under its massive weight. Daniel's instincts kicked in. He shoved the youngest girl behind him and raised the old rifle he had carried. For years, the weapon looked pitiful against the beast, but he fired anyway. Each shot echoed through the chamber. Sparks burst across the hunter's chest. It staggered for only a moment, then kept coming. The radiant girl raised her hand. A wave of energy surged outward, slamming into the hunter again. The beast crashed into the wall, stones collapsing around it, but already it rose, its claws glowing. Red with heat, its movements faster, angrier. The chamber wouldn't hold much longer. Daniel's breaths came heavy. He knew a choice was coming. Either they ran and the beast followed, or they ended this now, but if they ended it, someone would have to pay the price. The oldest girl stepped forward, her eyes glowing. She is the core? She can stop it forever. Her voice shook, but her meaning was clear. Daniel turned sharply. "What do you mean, forever?" The girl's face fell. "If she burns the core fully, she will end the hunter, but she will end herself too. The words hit Daniel like a blade to the chest. He looked at the glowing girl, her fragile frame standing proud. She gave him a faint, sad smile. "It is the only way," she whispered. His heart twisted in his chest. He had already carried her. Once dying in his arms, he would not carry her again. Lifeless this time. The hunter roared louder. It smashed through another wall, the whole chamber trembling. It was coming fast, unstoppable. Dust rained from the ceiling. They had seconds. Daniel's mind raced. Every soldier's instinct told him to take the winning move. Let her burn the core. Kill the beast. Save the others. But another voice inside screamed louder. He wasn't going to sacrifice a child. Not again, not ever. His fists clenched. His voice broke out in a roar of his own. "No, we find another way." The radiant girl blinked, shocked. Her lips trembled. "A human. There is no other way." "There's always another way," Daniel growled. His eyes burned with fury. "You don't throw lives away." "Not while I'm here." The hunter crashed down, claws raised for the kill. Time slowed. Dust froze in the air. The glow from the girl's body flared brighter. The oldest sister screamed something in their alien tongue. The youngest girl clutched Daniel's sleeve, crying, and then Daniel made his choice. He threw himself forward, straight at the beast. His body moved before his mind could stop it. He dodged the swipe of a glowing claw, rolled across the stone floor, and leapt upward. His rifle cracked against the hunter's jaw. Useless but defiant, the beast snarled and turned on him. For a heartbeat, all its glowing eyes were on Daniel. That heartbeat was enough. The radiant girl screamed. Her glow erupted, brighter than anything before, but instead of burning alone, Daniel felt it connect to him. The bond they had made when he gave her, his strength surged alive, energy poured. Through his body, searing like fire. His veins lit up, his chest burned. And then he understood. He could carry it with her. Together, not alone, he roared. Gripping the hunter's arm as it slammed down on him, pain shot through his ribs, but the glow in his chest burned hotter. The radiant girl cried out, her light wrapping around him like a shield. Together, their power surged, a storm of energy. Ripped through the chamber, the walls shattered, the carvings exploded into sparks. And the hunter screamed, not in rage, but in terror, its massive body convulsed. The glow in its claws sputtered, its eyes flickered and dimmed. The radiant blast tore through it, shredding its metal flesh. Piece by piece it crumbled, until nothing but ash and broken steel remained. Silence. The chamber still glowed faintly. The youngest girl sobbed softly, clutching Daniel's arm. The oldest stared in disbelief, her lips parting, and the radiant girl collapsed into Daniel's arms, her glow dimming, her body fragile once more. "No," Daniel whispered. He shook her gently. Her eyes fluttered open, weak but alive. Her. Faint glow still there, not gone, not burned away, just smaller. She smiled faintly at him. "You shared the fire," she whispered. Her small hand touched his cheek. "You didn't let me die alone." Daniel's throat tightened. He couldn't speak. He just held her close. The hunter was gone, the chamber broken, but they were alive, and for the first time, Daniel realized, maybe this wasn't just survival anymore. Maybe this was a beginning, him, and these strange alien girls, bound by fire, bound by choice, bound by something greater than fate itself.